Good day, and welcome to another Satsang Weekend Workshop. My name is Eddie, and I've been practicing Satsang for 14 years. Today, I will be I think we were having some problems, though. And the advanced practitioner. When we meditate in a group, our focus is increased, and our personal progress along the path of Satsang is expedited. Joy and happiness. As we sessions, the informative session, the practice session, Satsangs. He and his wife.
So, how is joy? different from happiness, let's say. Um, so basically, happiness and sadness. So there are like two opposite things. But joy doesn't seem to have, you know, um, a, it stands on its own. There is no um, opposite of joy in a way. Right. So that could be a good metric to see if your meditation is going well. So if we look at, in general, everyone is looking for happiness through wealth, knowledge, possessions like house, car, etc., and they continue to strive, themselves to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. The happiness of the family and friends, becomes important because our own happiness then depends on their being, uh, you know, um, happy in some ways. So, in broader terms, to be happy yourself, the world in your immediate vicinity needs to be happy. However, the happiness described this way um, is achieved by the virtue of, these immediate relationships and possessions that you have, um, and primarily based on physical senses. Now, let's go to inner happiness. Inner happiness is beyond the happiness achieved through worldly possessions and worldly interactions. Happiness achieved through worldly possessions would turn into misery and unhappiness when the physical possession or that relationship becomes sour, right? Inner happiness is not based, and joy is not based on how much you have, or what kind of status do you command. Inner happiness grows um, internally, and it's tied to your spiritual growth in some ways. Inner happiness is a good measure of progress. So as you meditate, you will find that this inner happiness, which one of my friend calls it, there is a joy meter. So it will fluctuate a little, but then come to a equilibrium position where so if something goes wrong, something goes right, our happiness dwindles. But then we settle on a place, and that place would be the level of your inner happiness. Um, so, so my grandfather's approach was that uh, you know, spiritual progress. People think that would require serious amount of time, but he said, like, how much time you spend in service and prayers and satsang, etc., is not important. What is important is uh, how you are growing your inner happiness. um, so if the level of inner happiness is not improving, then what you're pursuing to get higher level of uh, you know consciousness and awareness is you need to evaluate that. So basically, inner happiness is something that doesn't depend on something outside. It's within. And as you meditate and as you look inwards, um, and concentrate, inner happiness level would continue to increase. So that is why I think somewhere I heard the definition of meditation as being um, uh, it's happiness intervention, and the reason for that is that through meditation you can uh, uplift the level at which you live day in and day out, so that inner happiness continues to increase. Now, uh, the next thing I wanted to talk about was, you know, uh, we meditate in silence. And the question is like, how do we go into a good meditation? So the practice of rendering thoughts, uh, you know, still. So, kind of saying that we want to make the mind thought free. That's undoubtedly very difficult. So, interestingly, it's more difficult not to think than to think. Um, but everything can be achieved through practice. So, what the research found was that first, from multitudes of thoughts, come to a single thought. Um, so, basically, uh, concentrate on one thought and one thought alone, and then slowly that will also go away. So, that is how um, this practice or meditation practice is basically, take one activity or take something, that you will concentrate on, the object of concentration, and then you go deeper into the meditation. uh, that thought would also dissolve. So that's the approach. So here, what we do instead of, getting into an activity, um, we concentrate on, you know, just observing light. So thinking of like light is in front of us, and that's entering our heart and distributing throughout our body, and we're completely getting immersed in this light. So, what you think you become. So, if you are thinking of positive energy, and you're imbibing that energy through meditation, so you know it uplifts your mood, uplifts your inner uh, consciousness. Um, so, my grandfather established this around 1930, packaged it. In a way that with limited amount of effort you could get to a higher level of inner happiness pretty quickly. So as I was saying that, the first thing is to bring yourself to concentrate on one thought. And there are other meditation methods where you would recite something, or you will listen to uh, something either repeatedly, or talk about gratitude, talk about happiness. Instead, here we just observe light. That light is in front of us, entering our heart, distributing throughout our body, and that we are getting completely immersed in this light. Now, what happens naturally is the mind wanders away. As soon as you realize that mind is somewhere else now, you bring it back to observe this light in front of you, and that light is entering our heart, and then it's distributing throughout our body, and we're getting completely immersed in this positive, uplifting energy. Um, another thing is that people concentrate on various different places. So here, like mindfulness, this is like heartfulness. You're, uh, you know, kind of filling your heart with this light, and the effect of that is once your inner self is purified, you would see um, you know the effect. So without you know um, uh, making you um, feel connected with your environment in ways that you had not um, felt that before. So uh, call it higher awareness or higher consciousness. That is achieved pretty quickly. So we'll practice that now, and then after the practice, we'll talk about joy and inner happiness and how to, uh, how this process works a little more. Um, so we will transition into the meditation with music and then transition out with music, about 15 to 20 minutes of meditation itself in silence. And through the music, through silent meditation, all you have to do is just focus on observing this light that's in front of you, that's entering your heart, distributing throughout your body, and that you are completely immersed in this light. And if mind wanders away, just bring it back to this thought and this thought alone. Mind breathing exercises, mindfulness, or any other approach that works could be done before or after while meditating on light in silence. Just observe that light, and that it observe that coming to your heart, illuminating the heart, and then it's from there that light is distributing throughout the body and making you feel energized with that. So let's start now. So I was just reading that, no one runs a machine needlessly, even after it has served its purpose, because that will wear out its parts. But look at us, um, you know, how much rest do we give to our body and mind, especially the mind? Uh, you know, mind probably doesn't get a moment's rest. The recent research says that, when you are resting, the body is resting, but the mind is probably not. Um, so what they're saying is that when you concentrate on something like music, or you meditate, that's when actually um, parts of our brain actually get some rest. So anyway, so Richard, Chiquita, how welcome on board. Any questions, observations? How did the session go?
Hi, I'm
Yeah,
Chiquita.
yeah. Hi.
Um, so the session was actually really, really well. I was very shocked that I was able to stay kind of focused on the light because usually I worry about like everything else.
Mhm.
And like although my mind wandered here and there, I was able to bring it back. So it's like I feel really good that I was able to really stay in the meditative state for that long. So thank you.
Yeah, sometimes we actually surprise ourselves. You know, um, my grandfather used to say that, being calm and quiet and in peace, and in meditation is actually a more natural state than we think. So yeah, very good, very good. But again, I think practice, if you practice, I mean, this will become second nature.
I had kind of
Richard.
the opposite
Oh,
experience, really. I had real trouble keeping the visualization, and I kept finding myself almost falling asleep and drifting off. Um, it
so
is a long time for me. I'm only used to doing sort of 3 or 4 minutes.
yeah, I mean, on one hand, some amount of practice is needed to get into deeper meditation. Uh, but if you felt that you were about to go to sleep, did you say that?
I did, yes, several times through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the thing is that s- so it looks like you're resting and uh, calming the body down, uh, but yeah, mind is probably next. So um, the other thing I want to emphasize is like meditation should be effortless, and um, it don't um, try too hard to visualize. The way I see is like light is around me, you know so it's just kind of think that it's naturally there in front of you, and entering your heart. So um, yeah, sometimes y- y- don't struggle with it, sort of just kind of think that you are in front of this light, and that light is coming into your heart. Yeah. Yeah, with some practice, hopefully, will come through. Luz, Eddie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Sanjeev. Uh, if I were to contribute anything today, I would just summarize the two things that you mentioned earlier because they're pretty important. Um, and that is, the concept of happiness meditation. Our our initial state is, or what we call truth, is when we're in a blissful state. Anything outside of that is illusion. It's not real. But that's where we find ourselves today. And so the goal is to get back to that state of bliss, which is beyond what Sanjeev Ji has described as happiness that we experience here today through the acquiring of material things. So the first step is to realize that the happiness we experience through accumulating material things is really misery, and that we have to take that first step. We have to take that first step on our journey back to our highest spiritual state where we are in a state of bliss all the time. And so, satsang here today can be that first step. By meditating, we concentrate on a single thought, and in doing that, our minds become calm. We experience peace. And everyone knows for themselves that when we're in a chaotic state of mind, there is no peace, right? So we can associate that with our worldly activities, or what we know as the lower realm of the pyramid. When we're in a state of meditation, our minds are calm. When our minds are calm, what do we experience? Peace, right?
Mhm.
And so only in that state of peace do we find real happiness, or some state of happiness, or what I call a glimpse of joy. And everyone can prove this for their own selves. So as we continue to practice satsang, our experiences with happiness increase, or that level of happiness we experience increases until we find that state of joy. So, as was mentioned earlier, um, happiness comes through turning within, withdrawing from the external world, concentrating our minds on a single thought, achieving a peaceful state of mind, thereby increasing our inner happiness, which eventually leads us back to our original state where we experience bliss, which is eternal, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's just what I kind of wanted to summarize what Sanjeev had said earlier, because it's very important. We spend the majority of our lives actually trying to get back to that state without consciously actually realizing it. So
Yeah, it's our natural state. So yeah. Luz,
Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday.
hello, hello.
As always, Eddie just beautifully summarizes, and I don't know if I have a whole lot to add, except I suppose my thoughts when it comes to sort of the things, the worldly things that often people rely on for happiness versus that internal, um, the cultivation of an internal stable, place where you could go to for happiness. I think the difference is just, reliability and stability. There's more reliability on a stable, consistent state of happiness when you can cultivate it within yourself, because the material world, dissolves. I mean, things break, relationships might, expire either naturally or,
Yeah.
for whatever reasons. And so, but if you've been able to cultivate like a steady practice whereby you're relying on on your happiness from within, it's just more reliable.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely. While you were talking about this, I thought of this example again that, from Washington, D.C., you have to go to New York, you need to take 95 north. But if you take 95 south and you go fast, you won't get to New York, right? So, so I think, my grandfather wrote a lot about, being peaceful and how meditation helps. And, in his 7-volume book, the entire journey, the internal meditative journey, he writes about, um, when talking about peace, he says that if you're trying to find peace where it is not, how would you find it? you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, so Shivangi, uh, or Warren, anything? Before we
Namaste,
wrap up?
Bhayaji.
Hello, hello.
Namaste, everyone. I was just thinking about what you described before our meditative session, the concept of joy. And I was just thinking that it must not be easy. There must be, I feel like it's transient. Like sometimes you feel with your practice, you feel peaceful and at more calm, but then other times it's life just takes over and it's just hard. And I was also thinking about, I mean, my parents have been doing this practice for almost 20 years, and
Mhm.
I don't see them with joy. I don't see them getting that joy. In fact, I
Interesting.
see them really troubled sometimes and really affected by life.
Hmm.
So I was just thinking in my head that, there are hurdles and they are very disciplined and very, you know, they do it very like more disciplined and like every day and like do all the right things, but I still see them without joy. So that's what I was thinking.
So very interesting, right? So on one hand, when I look at my parents and my uncles, and my grandfather, the grandmother, I mean, uh, they actually achieved the peaceful. So I think, after looking at their life, I started saying, the target state satsang takes you to is love, peace, and light all together in a way that, um, it becomes very, very infectious. So love, peace, and light you will feel when you meet them. So then the question becomes, I have only seen very, very few people getting there. Um, and as you just mentioned, um, there are people who meditate, who come to satsang, and they are very devoted, but still not achieving uh, the peace, light, and love in the way that, we would call the target state. Um, and and sometimes I definitely think about, like, why only few people achieve that. um and is it like, so the thing is that that part, that's almost like an open question. um one thing that I can think about is, you know, I mean, the consistency of practice, but with practice, I think we have talked about, like, some level of detachment has to be there. Until and unless that detachment comes, the inner peace wouldn't grow as much or as consistently. So sometimes, we have to step away, or like, if you are going on 95 South, you won't get to New York, right? That's the whole problem. And we sometimes, um, I think I don't think it's just that. So they are practicing, they are meditating, but the other aspects that kind of support that achieving the higher consciousness and higher awareness. So, in one of the books, Guru Maharaj talks about 12 hurdles to a good practice or towards a good and consistent progress. So, yeah, Richard, you wanted to say something?
Actually, I hit the unmute by accident, but I would like to ask, with my experience of sort of struggling not to fall asleep, that's been a fairly constant thing with me trying to meditate over the years. Is there, how would you approach that? Is it something I just run with, or because the problem with it isn't so much that I'm worried about falling asleep; it's that I can't hold the one thought once my mind starts drifting off into that sleep state.
So what do you feel in the sleep state in terms of thoughtfulness, or what happens to your thoughts at that point? Do you have any control at that point, or no?
Not really, no. I mean, they start wandering almost into a dream state. So
Right. Very interesting, because I have met several people who have um, the tendency that, to tell you the truth, initially when I encountered, or people told me that they are falling asleep, my initial reaction was, wow, I mean, a lot of people cannot sleep. I mean, sleep deprivation is so wide. So if you can
this is, I do struggle to sleep under normal circumstances.
see, so I basically initially thought that, okay, if you rest and you go to sleep, what's wrong with it, right?
Yeah,
But then I actually did some research, and uh, basically, what came out was, there was a discussion on sleep and meditation, and sleep is, so meditation is like opposite, in the sense that it's, yes, you are looking inwards and you have eyes closed, but um,
it's
it's
focus,
right,
concentration.
yes, yeah, concentration, focus, and it's a state of being awake, quote unquote, right?
Yeah,
So um so uh, so author of that sleep and meditation, uh, discussion, said that you have to kind of, um, uh, they were saying that you will have to make an effort to stay awake.
yeah.
And it, see,
Well, I did.
but
I
but
did, and I managed to stay awake. But it was more than it's just my mind kept drifting with it as well. So,
because if you ask me personally, I feel that when you meditate, and within meditation when you sleep, actually your orientation has already become like positive. So I feel that that time would be part of your meditation.
Okay.
So sometimes, the thing is, like, when you um, fall asleep, and afterwards, you feel refreshed physically.
Yeah.
With meditation, you feel refreshed in terms of the energy, and so mind becomes more positively oriented, and so on and so forth. Um, so I think what I would do is like 15, 20 minutes of meditation, and see how you are feeling afterwards. If you're feeling refreshed, if you're feeling energized, if you're feeling, uh, that uh, it's uh, uplifting experience, then I would just continue.
Okay, thank you.
But try to stay awake. But I think what I would measure is, like, after 20 minutes, how do you feel?
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Can I jump in with a question for Richard?
Yes.
Have you tried to meditate at different times of the day? And do you find that maybe if you meditate, like, sometimes if you meditate in the evening, you might fall asleep, whereas if you meditate midday, when when you're more alert, it might be a different experience. Like, sometimes it depends on, like, what time of day you meditate, whether you've eaten well, whether you've gotten enough sleep the night before, at least in the beginning, to kind of ease into a practice. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in the UK, so it's 4 in the afternoon here. But I haven't slept very well. I rarely do. So yeah, that probably is a factor that my mind's tired anyway.
No, so, I mean, personally, if you can't sleep well, and meditation puts you to, uh, and I'm telling you, around meditation, when you sleep, it will be far more refreshing. It'll be a power nap. Um,
Yeah.
so the other thing, Liz, what I found was that I there are people I know, as soon as the meditation starts, they tend to go to sleep. And I know, personally know a few. So it kind of like meditation just rests you, um, put you in a like in a state of rest that kind of just moves into, you know I mean, there are people actually who so in person, when you meditate and somebody not just sleeps, starts snoring, that becomes a very interesting situation.
I see that. That's happened before in meditation sessions I've been in.
Yeah, yeah,
I say, hey, I mean, if meditation helps you to
yeah,
tap into the sleep, relaxed state, that's good. I
yeah,
mean, but I suppose the goal, though, is to try and
yeah, yeah,
reap the other benefits of
yeah,
meditation.
absolutely.
What about, so just to follow up on that, though, not that I don't have that issue, but is there a way, do you think silent meditation versus like guided meditation might change that? Or I don't know. That is an interesting concept for people who do struggle with that. Yeah.
So, Richard, did you try mindfulness?
Yes, yeah, I can do that in a sort of daily situation, where I'm actively doing something, if I concentrate. And as I think was it Lars just said, I've done guided meditations that I've found easier.
Yeah.
but I kind of prefer the idea of the silent meditation.
No, me
Um,
too. I
um,
personally think that this will take you to deeper states, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. So uh, eh,
I guess maybe if it helps me sleep for a few days, then I won't be so mentally exhausted and it might stop sending me to sleep.
right.
Which
Yeah,
would be
try
okay.
that. I think it'll be like you know. Personally, I'm being very sincere. It's you know, a restful state, even if it's partly it is sleeping. It's I think it's good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, definitely practice for a few days, and then let's see. Um, yeah, and yeah, we do this every Saturday at the same time. So group
Do I
groups.
need to? Sorry, do I need to get a ticket every week?
Uh, Actually, if you save the link,
Yeah,
the same link would work.
it's the same. Oh, super.
Awesome. So, any wrap up thoughts, Chiquita or Warren?
I don't have any. Thank you. This was very informative. I'm trying to get back into like meditating often. So I found you on Eventbrite. So I joined and I'm actually happy that I did. Um, so this is kind of like me just reintroducing myself back to meditation. So I actually enjoyed it. When I first started, I kind of had the same issue as Richard, but a lot of it was, I realized too that I wasn't sleeping. So that was just my body letting me know that, hey, we kind of need to relax. Um, and once I'm able to sleep a little bit more, I realized that I can meditate without falling asleep. And that was even whether it be silent or guided, I can fall asleep at both. But now getting a little bit more rest, I'm able to focus.
Awesome. Yeah. So, Richard, it looks like if you continue the practice, you will eventually get over this. Seems like.
Yeah, I suppose even if all it does is help me sleep, that's an improvement.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing at all.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Shakita, you can also save the link same time. Any Saturday you have time, please join. Yeah. Welcome on board. Really enjoyed. I enjoyed the session today a lot. So thank you everyone for being part of that. All right. So we'll.
Can I just come back before we go away? You mentioned your grandfather's book. Obviously, this is my first session. What is that? Is it available? Can I?
So actually, parts of it are on ramashram.com. So let me so there are two websites. One is ramashram.com and then ramashram.org. I actually am starting a YouTube channel. I'll I'll find I'll find your email and send you that link too.
Oh, wonderful! Thank you so much. Cheers.
Awesome. All right, very good. Eddie, anything to wrap up? What's the last word here?
There was so much said today. I would
Yeah.
just add that when you're a child and you grow up in your town, you find a lot of enjoyment in tending to the playground and your friends and schoolmates and so forth. And so you never really want to leave that town because you're happy there. But there are lots of experiences and knowledge to be gained once you leave that town. So it's good to break away from our habits and the things that we're used to in this life and start to explore our inner world. So let these weekend workshops be an invitation to get away from the hometown that you were born in and to experience a new place, a place that was inside you, and you'll find knowledge, happiness, and joy there.
Awesome. So, on that note, peace, light, and love. Thank you for joining. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you, everyone. Namaskar.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. See you next week.
Thank you, Richard.
नमस्ते भैया
So much. Have a beautiful week, everyone.
You too, Liz. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Always think about that. Yeah, moderate your work so you can,